Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. As always, I am Dorn. Today we're going to go ahead and land on the moon yet again, and we're also going to hopefully make it back to Kerbin this time. So I went ahead and changed the thrusters on the lander to the little side thrusters that'll hopefully use less fuel and be a little bit better in the environment that we're going to be in. And I also changed the thruster that is on this segment of the rocket here. I changed it to the little motor or the little engine bit that we had on the lander last episode. So hopefully that's going to be a little more fuel efficient when we're trying to get into an orbit, and we can actually use this rocket a little bit longer instead of burning through all of that and then having to use our lander fuel for the orbital movements and stuff. But I'm going to go ahead and get things going here. Let's go ahead and full thrust and just go ahead and launch. We should be good to go ahead and get going. Oh, you know what? I don't have my liquid fuels going. Do I need to activate the liquid fuel rockets? I think I do, because we're not really moving too quick here. And as we get to around 10,000 to 15,000 feet here, I'm going to start rotating the spacecraft here to try and help us get into a little bit of an easier orbit instead of wasting all the fuel that we do, going straight up and then trying to get into an orbit. Hopefully this kind of helps a little bit more. It's probably going to be a little bit better as well, hopefully. So let's actually throttle down a little bit. We are starting to get a lot of the drag little things going on our spacecraft here. And let's start rotating now, if I can. I don't really have a whole lot of control over this thing. You know why? Because we don't have any fins or anything, and the engines that we do have active right now are not the ones we can actually move. It's only this guy here. So let's activate that guy, separate the boosters. Let's slow down a little bit again, and now we should be able to start spinning ourselves. I'm going to try and hold it around the 60 right about there. Are we still gaining speed? We are still gaining speed, so we can throttle down a little bit there, and we should be able to hold that. And if we go ahead and click on over to our orbiting mode here, we can actually see we are kind of going, but we can actually turn a little bit more. We don't want to turn too much to where we don't gain any more altitude, but we can go ahead and go just a little bit more, and we can hold it right here at the 90 degree mark, or yeah, 90 degree mark here. So let's try and go about there-ish, kind of right near the little line, so that we're still going upward and we're going sideways a little bit more. I think we can also slow down a little bit more here, so we're not burning so much fuel and we're still gaining speed. Is it possible to just get it to like stay neutral? I don't want to be gaining or losing speed. I guess not really. Yeah, I can't quite get it to do that. We're either gaining or losing, so we'll leave it there. And let's pop this back open. We are still gaining altitude, and we're not really spreading out the orbit here too much. So what if we actually kill the engines, because we're already at 130 meters, or actually no, not kill the engines, but start turning completely sideways here so that we're burning sideways and gaining our orbit. So let's go all the way down to the 90 degree thing on the middle bit here, and try and hold it right there. And we can check our orbiting thing again, and we are starting to spread out here, which is nice. I might go ahead and kill the engines and just set a maneuver here. Let me kill the engines. Can I do that? Oh, no. Whoa, I guess Z makes your thing go full throttle. I didn't mean to do that. But let's add a maneuver near the apex and spread it out around the planet so that we get into an orbit. And we need to move this one a little bit and a little bit of that one. And there we go. We're in an orbit. Is that high enough? Well, let's go a little bit higher here. That should work. Let me go ahead and set us into that maneuver, and then I can go ahead and burn and get us into this, and we can hopefully get to the moon without wasting too much fuel here. So we actually ended up having to use a little bit of the fuel in the secondary stage here, but that's kind of fine. We didn't use too much fuel this time around. I think last episode we used pretty much half a tank. I don't remember. I think it was only like a quarter of a tank left by the time we got into an orbit around Kerbin, but now we are good. We have 100,000 on that side. We have a 257 on this side, so we should be okay, and we can go ahead and just float around Kerbin until we can go ahead and get a good lineup with the moon here to go ahead and make a connection with it. We didn't do too bad this time around. We're only 2 degrees off on the little nodes here, so I think that's pretty decent, right? So now we need to go ahead and mess around with the little orbital thing here and try and find a connection with the moon here. So I'm going to go ahead and do this again. It's going to be a little wonky because we need to keep doing this and just move it around the orbit here until we finally have something that's going to connect with the moon. So something like that should work, and then we can go ahead and wiggle this around until we see a connection, which is right there. So lucky enough, we are getting a connection relatively easily here. So how long is that burn time if we do that? That's going to be a 3-minute burn time. We should have the fuel for it. And we will go ahead and make a rendezvous with the moon here. So let me go ahead and wait until we get to that point, and we can hopefully just use this fuel tank to get there. If we still have some fuel left in this tank when we do, then that's going to be great. So we don't have to use any of our lander fuel, but hopefully that's the case this time around so we can actually make it back to Kerbin. So we're about 1 minute and 10 seconds out. I'm going to start burning now because it did say we needed to burn for 3 minutes, and it's going to take us 3 minutes. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to start burning now so that we can hopefully actually get this orbit changed to that trajectory here, because if not, then I don't think we're going to make it quite there. But I might have honestly started burning a little too late here. I might have should have started burning at 3 minutes instead of the minute mark there. I was hoping the burn time would change, but it didn't change too much. So all we can do is just hold the thruster at full speed and see if we're going to get lucky and get a snap over there. But I think it's actually going to take us the 2 minutes to get there, which by that point we're going to be past the burn mark, and it's going to kind of offset the maneuver that we just made. So I don't know if this is actually going to work. We might have to re-maneuver our mark here just to rendezvous with the moon again. That might be what we want to go ahead and do, because we're already 10 seconds out and we're not even a minute down yet. So yeah, let me kill the engine so that we're not wasting the fuel, and let me see if I can move this thing around and see if we have a connection with the moon anywhere else that would help, which we kind of do there. If we miss the burn and don't slow down in time, we're gonna get flung out into space. It's not really what I want to have happen. Let me see here. If we do this right about there, we're coming back toward Kerbin. Does it tell me where I'm getting sent to? No, I'm going out of the little moon orbits here. We can try that. I mean, the worst thing that's going to happen is we get flung out, but we still have fuel, so we might be able to get back if we just have to scrub the whole mission and we can't go to the moon. So let me actually try that. I'm going to go here. Let's see. I want to go... How far out is that? 1,000,000 kilometers. Oof. Let's not do that one. 470,000 kilometers. Let's try that one. And we have a 2 minutes and 14-second burn time for that. So if I start burning now, we're going to be a little bit off, but we should be able to get there pretty close enough. So we're just going to go ahead and hold the throttle and hopefully get there nonetheless. We're going to be, what is that, like 5 or 6 seconds off of the burn time, which hopefully doesn't affect it too much here. Okay, so I had to rearrange the maneuver again because the maneuver that we just had set, it changed the trajectory on its own. We were going to be a little bit off, but we weren't quite there yet, and it changed the thing to go ahead and do an orbit around like the other moon as well, to kind of be circling around that and Kerbin. So I had to go ahead and change it to see if I can go ahead and meet up with the moon. But now we have another trajectory going this way, and we have a connection with the moon going that way. So we can cancel this maneuver, save the little bit of fuel that we have left, and maybe get into an orbit around the moon with whatever we have left, so that we can only use the lander fuel for landing and getting back. So I think that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. I'm going to cancel the maneuver, and hopefully we're going to get flung into this little trajectory that goes this way with the moon. And apparently in a year and 17 days, I think, unless I'm reading that wrong, maybe in 4 hours or a year, I'm not quite sure which one of those I should be going off of, we are going to have a connection with the moon. So I'm just going to go ahead and put it into time warp, because there's really not much else we can do until we get into this little place and see what's going to happen. I think we're going to go into this orbit, this purple orbit, and then when we get back around, we're going to have a connection with the moon, I think is what's going to happen, like it did last episode when we had to do an orbit around Kerbin again just to meet up with the moon. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and time warp it until we get there. My engines are off, all my stuff is off, so we should be good, and we should be able to go ahead and get to the surface of the moon yet again today. All right, sweet. We didn't have to do that orbit. We just had to go to the connection point, and it swapped over to the moon again. So let's go ahead and add a maneuver over here, because we're going to be pretty slow at this. We're going to also have to separate this engine, so it's really not worth doing the whole apex point. So if we can go ahead and get it to wrap back around the moon, that would be great. And let's see, do an orbit, there we go. And that's really all we need this first little stage with whatever fuel we have left to do. We don't really need it to get us to land. We just need it to go ahead and get us close to an orbit. And then if we have fuel left over, we can go ahead and burn the rest of it to drop even lower down. Just curious, can we go ahead and move this a little bit over here? We can. Okay. So yeah, let me leave it where it was. We're just about 3 minutes out, so I'm going to start burning now because I don't really trust the timer right now, to be honest, because of the engine that we have on here. So I'm just going to go ahead and full thrust it. We do have only 10 seconds left on the burn, so that's fine. It's not too big of an issue. We're about to run out of fuel here in a second, so we need to go back to... Oh man, I thought the thing just swapped orbits and I missed it. But no, it didn't change yet. Okay, cool. So we have to go ahead and drop this fuel tank. And we need to re-engage the new thrusters. I'm going to kill the engines first so that we're not boosting crazy fast. And we should still be in the maneuver, which we are, so we have plenty of time to go ahead and burn the rest of the way there. And these things seem to be going through the fuel just as fast as the other engines. Kind of, it looks like, at least. So that's not really great, but we don't need to go super fast because we're in space at the moment, so it's kind of just changing the orbit relatively easily here. It's not too big of an issue. And let's go ahead and kill the engines now. So now all we got to do is pull the orbit down until we land on the moon again, and I think if we do it from this side, we're going to have to burn more fuel than if we do it from this side. So I'm going to go ahead and set a maneuver here and pull the orbit back down until we connect with the moon. And if I move this around, no, it doesn't move the landing bit. Okay, so let's just pull the orbit back down a little bit more, and we're pretty much going to go straight down, I think, is how we're going to go ahead and do this. So I'm just going to go ahead and kill it all the way, and we have to only burn for 2 seconds apparently. I don't think that's right, but if it is, that's great. That means we're not going to burn a ton of fuel, but hopefully that is the case. So let's go ahead and warp on over there and do the maneuver, and we can go ahead and land on the moon here in just a second. If my timer can go ahead and pop up, thank you. So we're just about 1:30 out. I'm going to go ahead and start burning a little early again here as well, because the timer is going to change depending on how fast we accelerate, I believe. So if I go ahead and just barely thrust so we're not chewing through the fuel, we should eventually get all the way down, which we are going to be there in 8 seconds. It's going to change where we're landing though, because I started burning a little early, so we're not going to quite land where we wanted to unless I go ahead and kill it there. And is that landing in that crater? It is landing in the crater, so hopefully there's going to be a little bit better science maybe in the crater. I'm not quite sure, but let's go ahead and clear the maneuver, and now we can go ahead and set ourselves into a retrograde burn so that when we start going down, we can just go ahead and start thrusting again and hopefully land on the moon here. So let's go back on over to the rockets. And which way is the moon? The moon is over there. Okay, so it should automatically rotate us with no issues here, and we just have to go ahead and time warp until we are landing, which is going to take us a little while if we don't go ahead and do that right now. So let me just go ahead and fast forward a little bit and land. So we're right around 40,000 meters. Let's go ahead and extend our landing gear so we don't forget on doing that. And we are traveling at 600, almost 700 meters a second here. So I'm going to actually wait until we get to around 10,000 meters to start thrusting to slow down. I don't know if it's going to really do us all that great if we start doing it now, because we're still pretty high up right now. It's really not worth doing that. So I'm just going to go ahead and hold off just a little bit longer here, and we're not landing in that big crater. I totally forgot that the planets orbit or rotate, so we didn't get to go ahead and land in that crater after all here. But anyways, let's go ahead and start slowing down here. Let's go ahead and throw a little bit of thrust on and see if we need to add even more, because we are still going pretty quick. We're about to hit the ground if I don't do this fast enough. Let me actually thrust a little bit faster and slow ourselves way down, because I might have misjudged this a little bit. Yeah, I feel like this person's about to die. Ooh, I judged this way wrong. Yep. Oh, they didn't die right away. Oh, no. We were traveling at, what was that, like 100 and something by the time we got to the surface, so maybe 20,000 meters would have been a preferable slowdown time instead of the 10,000 meter thing. Oops. You know what? I did make a quick save, so let me actually load that up really quick and see if we can do this correctly. I don't want to have to do a whole nother launch here. And just like that, we are back over here. Let me go ahead and start thrusting now. I'm not going to go full throttle just yet until we get a little bit lower, but with the amount of thrust that we do have going, we are slowing down enough. I don't want to slow down completely because I still do want to land, so I'm going to go ahead and kill the thrust just a little bit here so we're not dropping so slowly. And we're going to try and keep it around 100 meters if we can, because we're about 10,000 meters out right now. So we can still slow down a little bit more before I go ahead and slow the thrusters down even more right now. So far, it's looking a lot better than the last attempt here, which was a little bit bad judgment on my end, but we are looking pretty good so far. We are dropping relatively quick. We only have 100 meters about now. There we go. So let's kill the engine because we don't want to go back into orbit or back off of the moon here. And we're still 5,000 meters up. So I'm going to go ahead and hold off on thrusting for a little while. I'm going to go to about 2,000 meters, and then we can turn our engines back on. Yet again, I don't think we're going to have fuel to get back. Oh, that stinks. Yeah, I don't think we're going to have fuel to get back now because we used a lot of fuel for this to get here. We might have to change the entire bottom assembly of our rocket to use the new engines that we have. The big fuel tank and the big rocket engine that we have might be what we need to go ahead and do. We're only about 1,000 meters out. So yeah, we need to slow down a little bit more. We're only going 60 meters. I don't think that's going to be too bad, especially not to slow down from. So let me keep the engines on a little bit and hover around maybe 30 meters a second if I can before we hit too fast. So yeah, we're 300 meters out. Let me kill the engines again. I'm fine landing at 10 meters a second. That's not going to be too fast. Even 5 meters a second, I don't think it's going to be too terrible. We are 60 meters away, 50, 30, no, 40, and 30. We should be touching down any second now. I see the thrust on the ground. And don't tip over. We are good. Okay, sweet. So one minor little reset there that we had to go ahead and do. Let me turn the lights on so we can actually see kind of what we're doing. Not really all that helpful, but we can go ahead and run through all of the science pickups that we did last episode because we pretty much have to do them again. Again, though, I don't think we're going to get off of the surface, which is a bit unfortunate. I might just go ahead and leave her on the moon just so we don't kill another one of our Kerbals here doing the takeoff that's not going to go anywhere. I'm going to go ahead and gather all of this. I'm going to send what I can. Well, I guess I'm not going to be able to send anything back, am I? I took all of the antennas and stuff off. I forgot about that. I wanted to go ahead and cut down on any weight that we didn't necessarily need, so I got rid of the batteries and the antenna. So we can't actually send any of this back. Okay, I forgot about that. But let me go ahead and log all this stuff, and I guess we're going to try and go back if we can. You know what? We can't actually leave this person on the moon because even if we do send a rescue mission, we can't take any of the science back with us. It's not like we can take the little container out of the spacecraft and carry it to the new one and then go back to Kerbal with it. So we either get this ship back to Kerbal, which the amount of fuel that we have is not going to be possible, or we just go ahead and send this astronaut off like we sent the last one, which is just hit her into the surface of the moon here, which is pretty much all we can really do. So we're going to go ahead and give that a go. Let me close the landing gear because it's really not going to matter here in a second. And let's see if we can get into a high enough altitude off of the moon here to somehow get back to Kerbal, which it looks like no. The amount of fuel is not really going to work for us. How high up are we so far? We're 40-something thousand meters so far. We can kill engines and try and set a maneuver really quick. It's not going to do us any favors. But if we can get this person into an orbit and not kill them, then that'll be a kind of a win, I guess. And then we can send something later on to try and just grab them and maybe scoop them up and drag them back to Kerbal. There are little grapple guns and stuff we can get. And it looks like we don't have enough fuel again. We're 1 second shy of enough fuel to burn. So I don't know what to do with this now because we really can't gather all that much science from orbiting the moon, right? We got enough science from that last time. I don't think there's really all that much left to get from orbiting it. I think we have to land on it and get back, or at least take the science hit for transferring the data via the antennas. So I'm not quite sure what we do. I'm going to go ahead and just try and re-land the lady on the moon here and just not kill her, I guess. For now, there's really not much else we can do. You know what? We're just going to go ahead and go for it again. We're going to go ahead and end up killing this person too because there's not much we can do for them. We can't get them into an orbit to be able to grab them with the grapple guns, and so it's better just to go ahead and wipe them, I guess, and try again at a later date. I'm not going to do this again next episode. I'm going to probably set some sort of a unmanned mission off to go do something else to try and gather some science. Maybe we can go ahead and send one to the other moon that's orbiting this planet, or go to another planet in general if we can. We do have the bigger engines. So I'm just going to go ahead and fast travel to the burn time here in a minute. And we're going to go ahead and burn right on the maneuver node instead of a little earlier. So let me slow it back down, go back on over to this thing, and keep an eye on the timer here. So let's go full thrust right about now. And it didn't do all that much, which was kind of expected. Okay, so not that big of a deal. Can we do anything with the spacecraft not in orbit, but where we are right now? I don't think so. We can do an EVA report, right? Or a crew report from here, which is going to give us 15 science. So maybe it would be kind of worth doing a orbital thing around the moon just to gather some more science. It might not be that bad of an idea to get a little bit more to maybe unlock another tree of tech. You know what? I might actually be able to send something back to Kerbin. I'm going to try it. We don't have any battery power, and we don't have an antenna, so I don't think it's going to really do anything. And yeah, we don't have any comms devices on this spacecraft. Okay, I wasn't sure if that was going to work or not, so now we know it's not going to work. So at least we have another dead astronaut here in a second. Let me actually just warp us into the ground so we can go back to the space station, because there's really not much else we can do. And to better their odds, I'm going to go ahead and put us into a retrograde. And I'm going to go ahead and separate from the spacecraft as well. Actually, it's not letting me do that because we're in warp. Let me separate. There we go. And let's actually throw ourselves into a retrograde again, which we are. Popping the parachute's not going to do us any favors, but we might as well just go ahead and pop it just for the sake of popping it, I guess. And let's go ahead and warp us into the ground here. And splat. Nope, hold on. Splat. Nope. Hey. Oh, well, let me fast forward anymore. But there we go. Splatted into the ground. We are going back to the Space Center here with yet again another failed attempt at the moon landing and retrieval whole process there, which is a bit annoying. And Jebediah went ahead and respawned into our little active astronaut thing, so Valentina will eventually as well. I'm just going to go ahead and pick up some of these people just for the sake of having them in our thing here, so that we don't have to rely on the game respawning them whenever it does. Let me just grab a couple more. Do we have anybody else that's not completely stupid? This guy, sure. And I think we'll be fine with those two. Let me go ahead and go back to the building here. So I think what we need to do is change out the bottom liquid rockets here to the bigger ones, which are these guys. They're like double the size of those, which might come in handy. We'll only need like 2 or 3 of these tanks though, I think. We can even go ahead and swap out the fuel tanks on the lander because we're really not having that much fuel left over on those. We might want to go ahead and use a different fuel tank to get more fuel on the lander because that's becoming an issue. So we might go ahead and change out those fuel tanks to maybe these ones just to go ahead and add a little bit more fuel to it. Or we might change out to these ones completely. Although these are really big, I don't know if I want to use those ones for that. And that's really it. In all honesty, that's probably what we need to do to get to the moon and back, is just change out the fuel rockets that we're using to the bigger variant, and then change out the fuel tanks that are on the lander to the bigger fuel tanks as well, so we have a little bit more fuel to play with. And I think with those little changes, we should be good to get there and back. But like I said, we're not going to go ahead and do that right now. We're not going to do it next episode. We'll go ahead and do it eventually. But for right now, I think that's going to go ahead and be it for today's episode. Next episode, I'm going to go ahead and set up an unmanned mission to go somewhere. I'm not quite sure just yet where. Maybe just orbit the moon, maybe the secondary moon or another planet like I said. But for right now, that's going to go ahead and be it for today's episode. So hope you guys enjoyed as always, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.